Now, the story that I'm about to tell you is a story that my grandmother told me. And she told me that when she was little, like she was about 10 years old, her parents and her two little brothers went to go spend the night at her aunt's house with her aunt, her uncle, and her cousins. So while they were spending the night there, they were spending the night, like spending a whole month there. She said that after a while, her little brother, who was 7 years old, they kept finding him in the morning playing down by the river. Like, why are you over there playing by the river in the morning? Why are you getting up in the middle of the night and taking off? So he said that he didn't remember doing that. He doesn't know how he got down by the river. So they took it upon themselves to start trying to keep an eye on him, because they figured, well, he must be sleepwalking, right? So my grandmother said that one night she opened her eyes and she saw these little people. And she said they were tiny. They must have been like not even maybe a foot tall. And she said there was like about 4 of them. And that they were laughing and giggling and telling him, come on, come on. And she wanted to scream, but no sound was coming out of her mouth. And she wanted to scream, tell him like, don't go, or scream for help. But she said it was just air, like air was coming out of her mouth. And she was too paralyzed, like to get up and go run for help or get up and try to stop him. And he followed them right out the door. And when she had told her aunt and her mom and everybody what she had seen, they told her that it was something called the Duende. That they were the Duendes. So a Duende is a little creature, like a little humanoid creature, similar to maybe like a gnome or even a leprechaun. So what they ended up doing was they ended up like securing the locks on the doors really well and blocking the doorway and tightening the windows so that they wouldn't open, just to make sure that he wouldn't take off with them again. Because there were stories that the Duendes would lure children away and you would never see them again. So they did everything they could to make sure that he wasn't leaving the house again. She said over the years she learned a lot of mythology about the Duendes. Like they would say that they were mischievous and they would pull pranks on people. They would do things like braid the hair on a horse's tail or the horse's mane. They would do strange things like that. Or they would throw rocks like over the house so that it could hit somebody on the other side and then you wouldn't know who did it. Sometimes they would throw things on the roof, or they would knock over things, like knock over a bucket of water. They were very mischievous. So she would, see things like that, and all the kids were always blaming each other and their parents were blaming the kids. But the thing is that nobody was near these objects to be throwing the rocks over the house. Nobody was on that side of the house. They would try to catch them, but they never could. So she said that for many, many years, everything seemed fine until one morning he wasn't in his bed. So of course they wouldn't go looking for him because they thought, oh no, he's doing it again, or what's going on. And they found him down by the playground. And what's very, very strange was that he had braids in his hair. This was a very terrifying thing for everyone to see, because that's one of the things that the Duendes do. So again, they started locking the doors, barricading the windows, making sure that he couldn't get out or they couldn't lure him away. So since I had never seen one, it wasn't really easy for me to believe in such a thing. I kind of thought she was just trying to scare me so I wouldn't sneak off outside by myself. But I remember watching movies like Darby O'Gill and the Little People with the leprechauns. And one of the scariest things I ever saw was the movie Cat's Eye. Because after what my grandma told me, and in the movie Cat's Eye, there's like a little troll man just running around. So if you haven't watched it yet, you've got to watch it. It's based on a story by Stephen King, and it's called Cat's Eye. One of the other movies I really loved, it's actually like a 3-part movie, but it's called Trilogy of Terror. In one of the little short stories in this movie, there's a little creature like a little doll that comes to life, and he's running around the house. But it reminds me of the stories of the Duende. Another incident I heard about was a friend of mine from work, when I mentioned that I had taken a picture of a ghost in my yard. So he decided to disclose to me something that happened when he was a child. So he said that when he was about 6 years old, he was hearing noises in his room when he was trying to go to sleep. And he could hear something that sounded like it was like scampering or running across the floor. So he started to get scared. And so he decided to go run to his parents' room. And his mom was still awake, so he said, "Mom, can I sleep with you? Can I sleep in your bed? Because I keep hearing noises in my room." So he was scared. So she told him, "Okay, just go ahead and you can go ahead and sleep with us tonight." So he went ahead and he went to sleep next to his mom. So sometime in the night while they were asleep, he was woken up by the sound of noises in the room. And he got scared because he thought, "Oh no, now it's in the room with us." It followed him to his parents' room. So he heard that noise, so he sat up. He started staring over at the dresser that was in his parents' room. And he said right on top, he saw it. It was a little tiny little man that was on top of the dresser. And he said it was staring at him. And he said it looked like it had little sharp teeth. And it was dressed something like a little gnome. He said that it was right on top and it was staring at him and it was smiling and it was laughing at him because he was terrified. And he said he tried to wake his mom up and he tried to scream, but all he could get was like no sound was coming out of his mouth. He said it's like he was screaming with no sound and he was terrified and his mom wouldn't wake up. What's very strange to me is that it seems to appear only to children. So one story that I heard was this investigator. He went into like one of those countries where one of the stories of the Duende originated, and he went to go investigate. So when he went to this other country to investigate, he thought he was just going to hear like random stories of people that had heard about it from maybe their grandparents or their parents. But instead, he was met with a lot of people that just kept telling him, "Why are you trying to discover that? Why are you searching for that? You shouldn't be just curious. You should be afraid." And they were really genuinely afraid, so much to the point that they would tell these stories at night. They would tell their kids not to go outside alone. One of the natives that he spoke to said that when he was very young, that he was outside with his mom while she was hanging up clothes. And when she went inside, he stayed outside playing. And he said he saw it. He saw it into the woods and that it was calling to him. And he said that he wasn't afraid, that he started going to it. And he remembers not being afraid. And it was laughing and smiling and saying like, come on, come play with me, come play with me. And he said that he started following it, like in a trance with no fear. And then suddenly his mom came back and said, "What are you doing? Come here, come here." And he snapped out of it. And he got immediately terrified because he thought he was just going to it. It was calling to him and there he went. He was going to it. And that's what they would tell them, to be afraid. Don't be outside by yourself because it can lure you away. And that's how the children would disappear. I had a hard time ever believing something like that because I had never seen one. But I do know someone personally, also besides my friend from work, that says that she saw one. My sister. Now, one time she said that when my parents had gotten after her and my brother because they were fighting or playing around too rough and fighting, and they punished them and told them, "Go sit in the kitchen and go sit across from each other." So they sat one in one corner and one in the other, and they had to face each other. And they told them, "Now you sit there until you learn to behave and get along with each other." So they were sitting there making faces at each other, whatever, telling each other things, still not getting along. So my parents left them alone and said, "Okay, you're gonna stay there till you get along." So my sister says after a while, my brother wasn't paying attention to her anymore. And he was just fiddling with something else, like not paying attention to her, when she says that she saw it, that it came out of the wall, just like if a hole opened up. And it came out of the wall and it was a little creature. And it was a little man looking thing. And then it came out and it looked at her and it laughed. And she said she did the same. She started trying to scream and no sound came out of her throat. But what's so strange about that is the coincidence. Like, why? Why is it only children that see it? And how is it that it has the power of them that they can't even scream? They're screaming and no sound is coming out. So if you know any stories of anyone that you know that may have seen a duende, or if you've seen one, send me a message. I want to hear about it. So you want to be careful. If you want to stay safe, you best get superstitious. Peace.